stacks on her mind, grinding all day, hustle refined, shatter is ceiling, she steers and obtain. Boss is a title, wealth is a game.
About money and business accessible so that high-earning women can make confident decisions and live life on their own terms. That's so important. So if you've been riding with us for a while, you know I love connecting music and the topic we're going to discuss today. And right now, we were listening to Rebecca Vazmat, and the song is Who We Are Becoming. What do you think about it, high-earning community? When I think about this song, I think about Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. Have any of you read that one? Yeah. Because all of us every day are becoming something. And I think as a founder, probably what rings true for me based on my experiences as a founder is I find I work harder at who I'm becoming because I affect so many people's lives. I affect my clients' lives, my team, my family, my friends, communities I support and impact on a volunteer basis. So this song resonated for me when I thought about today's guest, who's a lawyer by training and worked with another firm before deciding to start her own firm. And I have to tell you, deciding to be a founder in any industry is no easy task. So when you get trained as a lawyer and you're working in a firm and then you decide to start your own firm, it takes courage, it takes resilience and vision. And our guest does not come up short on any of these qualities. Mateen Purgall, founder of Purgall Law, took the leap from being a practicing lawyer in the traditional system to becoming a founder of her own law practice. So she's here to share how she built her firm, the challenges she's faced, I'm sure, and the lessons she has for other women, especially lawyers who might be thinking about starting their own firm as well. So Mateen, welcome to the show. What do you think of the song?
Thank you so much for having me, Jackie. I love the song. First time I've heard it. Love jazz in general, and it's just a very mellow. And likewise, when I first saw the title of Michelle Obama's book came to mind. Love that. It really resonated. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I just think that I love the book. I don't know if you've read Becoming, but I did. And I kept thinking what was so awesome about that book is she was talking about we're always becoming something.
Right.
It's like we ourselves, we're always taking additional learnings, experiences, roles, and it's impacting us. And then we become whatever we're supposed to become, and then we become something else. But for you, let's start at the beginning. Let's start at what drew you into law in the first place. So what was those early years like in working in the legal profession like for you?
Okay, so my very first job was actually as a paralegal working in accident benefits. Yeah, dealing with injured victims of motor vehicle accidents, slip and fall injuries, any sort of injury where someone else is at fault and causes you injuries. I started off as a receptionist at the firm, worked my way up to being a paralegal, and then having carriage of the cases from start to finish. In the personal injury field, your clients are coming to you at one of the most vulnerable times of their lives, right? So they've suffered serious injuries and often are prevented from returning to work, providing for their family. They risk having their utilities, phone and internet bills cut off, or worse, losing their home.
Right.
Being at home also during the recovery period can really take an emotional toll on people. They develop depression, feeling useless, and sometimes suicidal, unfortunately, particularly when there's financial pressure. Yeah.
So you've seen it all. So is that one of the reasons, is starting really from right at the beginning, like as a receptionist, and working your way up as a paralegal and seeing all of the issues that the practice that you were working at, the clients of the practice were dealing with? Is that what inspired you?
100%. Unfortunately, insurance companies don't make it easy for claimants to obtain their due benefits. And that's understandable. They're in the business of saving money on claims to, help their own bottom lines and profits. So that translates to denying benefits, delaying benefits, and leaving claimants stranded. And to be the voice for the underdog and advocate for them in such difficult circumstances is extremely rewarding. And so when I went on to get my law degree, became a lawyer, and decided to, practice as a lawyer and then ultimately have my own firm, I stuck to the personal injury field for that reason, as opposed to corporate law or real estate law, where it's more transactional. There's not that human element of it. I really enjoy that.
Well, I always feel like receptionists know everything about what's going on with clients, right? So you would have been in the trenches, seeing, hearing those stories firsthand, because I feel like they feel like they can tell receptionists anything.
Very true.
And to be even more vulnerable. So you would have seen, you probably have lots of stories to share. So just parking that for a moment, you decide to, because of some of the things you saw in that law practice, become a lawyer yourself. Tell me how you go from becoming a lawyer yourself, working at a firm, to deciding, okay, I'm ready to make the leap to entrepreneurship. So there's a lot of stability that you have at a law firm. So deciding that you want to actually start your own practice, that's a bold move. Tell me what inspired you to take that leap.
Sure.
Did you have any fears around it, or did you face any challenges?
Absolutely. Sure. So actually, as a paralegal, I was at a point where, I was self-employed. I had done it for 7 years, and I was doing really well financially. And I was in a bit of a predicament to put the earnings on hold, go off to law school for 3 years, and not only put my earnings on hold, but now incur six-figure debt, in tuition and expenses. So it was, in hindsight, it was the best decision I could have made. But I toyed with it for a while. And similarly, as a lawyer, having a cushy job, my bosses were fair. I was an associate for 7 years. Also, 7 seems to be a recurring number. After 7 years, the idea was always, when I entered law school, was always to return to being a self-employed lawyer at some point. Having had the business sense and the business experience as a paralegal, it made sense. But it wasn't easy, because, now you're going to be putting on the entrepreneurial hat, the marketing agent hat, in addition to working on the actual file as a lawyer. So yeah, it was extremely scary. I was blessed enough that the opportunity arose, and I decided to part, but on amicable terms. So it was such that I was able to take my files with me and continue having carriage of those files. And particularly in the personal injury field, it's extremely risky to go out on your own, because these files, typically lawyers in the personal injury world work on contingency fee basis. So
That's right.
You only get paid when the file settles, and on average that could take 2, 3, 4 years. So in that time, you've got to be able to sustain your business. And so having had that caseload to start was a huge cushion for me. And it's really the only way I was able to take the leap.
Right. But that's kind of like what I say to clients who are in a scenario that are thinking of starting a practice of their own and maybe leaving the firm that they're with, is having that cushion of some kind. Came from your files, but it also can come from having just a financial cushion of cash in an account to pay the bills for a while until the practice.
And that's exactly one of the things I had to do, tap into my personal savings. I now had an assistant salary I had to covering overhead. And also, the doubt of not making it potentially. I didn't know if I'll be able to replenish the file list as they settled. I didn't know if clients or referral sources will take me seriously, given that I'm a small firm competing with the bigger names out there.
Right.
So it was really scary, but we survived, and it was the best decision I could have made.
Right. And then you became a confident entrepreneur. You start off becoming, I love the word becoming, you start off becoming a person who's testing what it's like to own your business. And as you make more decisions and you, good or bad, right, you become more confident,
100%.
which is kind of like the journey we all take when we try something new that we've never done before. So good for you.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about Purgall Law. What's your vision for that company? And how do you think your firm stands apart from other personal injury law practices out there?
So my firm's slogan from day one was compassionate, client-focused, solution-driven. From the get-go, I preferred a small firm setting, with me being the lawyer of record rather than growing to a point of hiring other lawyers that I would supervise and having a big team working on any given case. And to date, fortunately, I haven't had to move away from that model. This enables me to give that personal attention that I talked about earlier to my clients. I personally have regular update and review sessions with them. I have one assistant assigned to each case rather than the client, speaking to someone different every time they call who may not be as familiar with their case. And so this client-centric approach makes sure that the client isn't treated as just another file. The human element of making my clients feel heard and cared for during a very difficult time in their lives has always been really important for me. As I said earlier, that human connection is also rewarding for me because it enables me to keep up with the hard work and helping make a difference in people's lives by providing the resources they need, both during the rehabilitation period and also getting them the compensation that they deserve and need for the years to come, in terms of future care needs and lost future income. So that's what I do in a nutshell, and it allows me to continue doing it now for over 20 years. I'm not sick of it.
Wow, 20 years. Okay, and you look so young. I mean, come on. But 20 years. That's crazy how time clearly has flown, and I get that. The years can go quickly when you're working with clients, but the personal approach, it sounds like, even as you've grown, has not changed.
Right. And I would say it's probably the key to my success.
Well, tell me this. What advice would you give for people out there who are struggling? They're dealing with a personal injury issue. What are some of the challenges you see them face, mistakes that they might encounter going through that process? And what advice would you give?
That's a very good question. I think there are some useful tips that I'd love to share for listeners. Obviously, a devastating accident can turn one's life upside down. And I feel like for the most part, we don't think that these incidents would happen to us or our loved ones. But if they do, you want to be informed and have safeguards in place that will protect you in those unfortunate events, particularly if you're someone who's very involved in the day-to-day operation of your business or profession. In tort law, you can pursue your damages up to the insurance policy limits of the third party, the at-fault party. But this, the cases that I take on can take several years before they come to conclusion and the case settles and you get your owed damages.
That's a long time.
Exactly. Yeah. 2 to 3 years on average, and that's on the lower end. And in the interim, the business could collapse if you're personally unable to attend to it or pay for your expenses. Some things to consider are, so in Ontario, the mandatory third-party liability policy is typically $1 million. For high-income earners, just the year off work and the loss of income in a short period of time could amount to $1 million. Then there's damages for pain and suffering and out-of-pocket expenses. And that's if you're dealing with an insured driver, which is unfortunately not always the case. Just a couple of weeks ago, it was in the news that the OPP are seeing more and more uninsured vehicles on the road. So And even with valid insurance, the third-party insurer can take an off-coverage position because of a violation, like the driver driving impaired.
Right.
Now, fortunately in Ontario, we have what's called an OPCF 44R family protection coverage. It's an optional endorsement to your own automobile policy that protects you if the third party is uninsured or underinsured. You'll want to make sure that you have that endorsement.
And can you repeat what it is again, just for people who might not have heard it?
For sure. OPCF 44R,
Okay.
family protection coverage. You'll want to speak to your broker, make sure you have that in there. And I'd also strongly recommend, while you're at it, increasing your mandatory $1 million liability to $2 million of coverage or more. For a small increase in your premium, you'll be getting enhanced coverage and if you ever need it. So if you have someone who's uninsured that causes the accident, you have the full $2 million available to you. It also helps where, let's say the third-party insurer does have insurance for the mandatory $1 million, but your damages exceed that limit. If your liability coverage is $2 million, you can access that difference, the $1 million difference, through your own policy, which is a huge benefit.
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking about our high-earning community where that's going to matter to maintain their lifestyles, right?
Exactly. So, and I know most people want to save on premiums today. They're not worried about the unfortunate event of an accident, but a small premium can really go a long way. There's also what's called an umbrella policy. That's also something to consider for a different scenario in the event that you are liable for someone else's damages. It's an added layer of liability insurance providing coverage above and beyond the limits of your policy that protects you personally, your high value assets from being exposed in litigation, right? So it's customizable and it's pretty cost effective. I would strongly recommend speaking to a broker about that. And then there is, you can probably look into mortgage insurance if you have a mortgage and in the event you're unable to make your payments, that's very helpful. Long-term disability insurance is another one that would be helpful. And there's also optional benefits. So the standard benefits under your auto policy, if you can believe it, in this day and age, pays income replacement benefits in the amount of $400 a week.
I have this conversation with lawyers all the time who aren't personal injury lawyers, by the way. To say, do not depend on your accident benefits.
Right. But if you don't mind paying a little bit more in premiums and getting the optional benefits, it's the 400 could turn into 1,000 and it's something. And then there's also litigation loans that we sometimes arrange for clients if necessary to help keep them afloat while they wait for their settlement.
Right. That accrues interest, I'm sure.
At a very high rate. Unfortunately, it's a last resort. I don't recommend it.
No, absolutely. And it's important for people to know what's available to them. So I'm just really appreciative. And for those of you listening, high earning community, please take in the information being given here, because insurance is an invisible benefit that you only figure out you really need when something goes really, really wrong. So thank you so much for mentioning all of those, Mateen. Again, we'll have them in the show notes. So for people who couldn't write that down fast enough, they'll be able to get access to it later to protect their circumstances. Now, let's shift gears for a moment and let's talk about lessons, because I'm sure as a woman who've you started off, you were saying, as someone who was doing paralegal work, went back to becoming a student, then becoming an entrepreneur. Actually, before you were an entrepreneur, a lawyer working in a firm, and then an entrepreneur. You've probably got tons of things you've learned. So what are the top lessons you've learned you want other lawyers, especially women who are thinking of starting their own practice, to know?
My biggest advice would be to treat people well with courtesy, kindness, and integrity. The bar is relatively small. Your reputation will never leave you. And this includes, clients, opposing counsel. I cannot stress enough the value of building strong relationships with people. They'll be your biggest allies, your potential referral sources. I personally don't advertise at all. My biggest sources of referrals are my former clients, other professionals, paralegals, other lawyers for cross referrals, and I also honor referral fees in accordance with the Law Society of Ontario's guidelines. So, it really goes a long way. I pride myself on my 5-star Google reviews. My reputation is really important to me. It always has been. And it just feels good to do right by people. It's just a bonus that it pays dividends when people who like you and are happy with your work will come back and send other people your way. The other thing I would say is, there's so much help out there. There are resources to help you navigate this journey if you do decide to embark, on your own. And I recommend it to everybody. I've had zero regrets. It's been the best thing for me. But I understand the risks are, too much to handle for some people. But if you're considering it, there is help out there. Myself personally, I'd be happy to have a discussion with anybody. I had wonderful mentors along the way, still do. So it feels really good to be able to give that back. And, for example, I have this, there's a WhatsApp group for lawyers that's been such an invaluable resource for cross referrals, for questions, support. And other than that, I would just say, in the early days, keep your overhead low. It's more and more possible nowadays with, the help of AI to pave the way and save on time and costs. Virtual meetings, since the pandemic, it's become really helpful.
Exactly. Not that expensive office, right?
Exactly. Renting a boardroom as needed, or one of those Regis offices with shared receptionists. So in the early days, you want to be cost conscious. But yeah, leveraging AI in particular, it's so fascinating. It can write a whole business plan for you, create policies and templates to work off of, and save you a ton of time. And finally, I would say, don't be afraid of failing, and actually expect it. I really believe it's a key part of running a business. It's bound to happen. And with the correct response and attitude, you can actually take a lot away, and it helps you ultimately grow in new and better ways.
Yeah, failure is actually an option that every woman should lean into so that they can become what they need to become next. I love the word become, so don't mind me if I sound like a broken record, but
no, good use of it. That's perfectly there.
Well, I wanted to rhyme off some of the lessons, which I loved. So the first one is around just treating people well. And I kind of think of it as that what's spoken about you when you're not in the room by others. It's not a jingle. It's what people have actually experienced. So that's truly what a brand means. So you haven't had to advertise because you already understand so much about what branding really means. The second one that you mentioned was be lean, having that cash in the bank account to pay those bills. If you're a new entrepreneur embarking on your legal journey as a founder, keep your expenses lean, have money in the bank to pay for things, and take advantage of AI. Use, lean means, using AI to build things out for you, not necessarily hiring an assistant to do it. Taking advantage of shared spaces like Regis, or even just doing remote meetings, which, as you said, we were all doing during the pandemic. So fantastic lessons. Really appreciate that, especially that piece around AI, which I think as a Gen Xer and before people who are baby boomers might not be doing as much, but I'm becoming more and more comfortable as I have more Gen Z people and millennials around me. I'm becoming much more willing to embrace AI. So important lesson there. But before we wrap up, I wanted to do a fire round with you.
Sure.
Are you ready?
I'm excited and nervous.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the transparency. Okay. What would you say is one thing law school didn't prepare you for as a business owner?
The business side of things, marketing, how to bring in clients and operate a business as a lawyer. In law school, they focus on the legal education of it, how to work the file. But if you want to be on your own, there's more. And actually, even as an associate at firms, oftentimes there's that expectation to bring in work. So I think it's a really important lesson to teach our future lawyers.
Law school should have a business piece to it that you think by now they would, but
absolutely. They might. It was 2011 when I graduated, so maybe they do, and I just don't know it.
Well, if they do, high earning community, let us know. We want to be tuned into what's happening in law school now. I suspect not, because of all of the courses that have to still go through law school, but I would love to get your feedback on this high earning community. So DM us. Now, what's your go-to strategy for handling stress on tough days?
Yoga Nidra, hands down.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. It's like a massage for your nervous system.
Yoga
Nidra, Nidra.
Checking it out. I'm going to add something else to my Zen list. Okay. If you could give your younger lawyer self one piece of advice, what would it be?
To persevere, because there's light at the end of the tunnel. It will get easier and so much better.
Amazing. Finally, actually, 2 more questions. What's your relationship? Because, this is a money show. So I'd love to know what your relationship with money is now compared to when you first started in your practice.
I'd say when I first started out, and this applies to when, just growing up in general, I always saw money as, money can be evil. It can lead to more headaches and a scarcity mentality, which I would say has shifted since I've become a business owner. It's no longer about just, making enough to get by and paying the expenses and having a modest salary, but I realize I can now strategically use it to, grow the business, to invest, achieve financial freedom in creative ways, help others. It can be quite empowering. So my mindset about money has shifted.
Well, it sounds like you're more and more leveraging money to grow in every way and also to have an impact, which is, end of the day, I think is a fantastic place to be. It's a great season to be in your practice and in your life, is to be at the point where money isn't just a means to an end. So great to hear. Now, final question. Finish the sentence for me. High earning women should always
prioritize self-care.
Love it.
If we're not well, we're not earning well. We must invest in our health and well-being. It's absolutely vital to me.
Mateen, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey with us. Your story is such an inspiration for all the women lawyers listening, and really any woman who's listening, because who's thinking high earning community? Who out there is thinking about betting on herself and building something of her own right now? To our listeners, if you're considering starting your own business, I hope this conversation gives you the courage and the clarity to take that first step.
Thank you so much,
for tuning into another episode of the High Earning Women podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, Mateen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Please share with another powerful woman in your circle. And we'd love it if you could share leave a review with us, potentially subscribe for more inspiring stories and practical insights. And also feel free to DM us if you need support on your financial journey. Remember, money is power, and you deserve to own yours. So until next time, keep building, keep earning, and keep living the life you want and you deserve. Take care. See you next time, High Earning Community.